Anyway, worth watching a lot of these, and I appreciate the guys that sent me the email and the spikes this weekend on Sunday, and I want to say thank you. When you look at this, like I said, just imagine, just watch the hesitation, because when the characters, biting at Ron Paul, whenever you see them do this, they're not thinking on their own, and they aren't allowed to. But remember that they're being. It would just be fun. I don't want to be a fly on the wall. I want everybody to hear this. I think everybody should hear this. I think it would be a lot of fun, but that's why you won't be allowed. But if somebody really, really, really wanted to have a great, time on YouTube or whatever, what if an engineer, somebody who was a co-engineer or something, because we've done this before, by the way, were to take and record the event from the announcer's earbud perspective, and then put it out there on YouTube, and put it out there on Google Video. Wouldn't that be neat? Wouldn't that be fun to listen to? Don't you think that would be like the ultimate? Be like, smile, you're on candid camera when you least expect it. Oh, wow. Dude, did you see that thing about that announcer? It's like everything the guy said, it was like, and then you have what you do is you could actually have like with two versions. You have this is what you heard, blah, 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 blah. And then this is what you actually heard in his earpiece. No, I'm telling you, listen, I am self-clapped. What are you doing? You're going to lose your job if you don't get your act together. Say this. Say this. Blah, 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 blah. Say this too. Blah, 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 blah. No, don't listen to her. Listen to me. And then, of course, meanwhile, the actual girl was trying to give the cues. Oh, no, Mr. Blatzenstein, you told me to. Oh, would you shut up? He's lazy. He's not crazy. He's crazy. He's crazy. He's not. That thing. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be just the neatest stuff to listen to? Because can you imagine when let's say that, like, with Ron Paul, he's talking to these baboons that you have that are in these little pecking committees, and behind the scenes you get to hear where first one kicks in, but then all the oi boys that are behind the scenes that are up there in the engineer booth, that are sitting there in their little committee board where they're actually watching through a piece of glass, and you're not supposed to see them because they're up and off to the side and back in the darkness, and all of a sudden it'd be like a bunch of screeching baboons. Because you could picture one screeching into the guy's ear, the other one wanting to say something, and then the other baboon, the other with a yarmulke on, all one. By the time you're done, the poor bugger that's trying to hear. That's why sometimes they just kind of look cross. Like I said, they look cross-eyed. Can you imagine what that's like? And then on top of that, even if, like, say you go, this isn't good journalism, it's like he's a media whore. He has no choice. If he doesn't say what they tell him to, they've already told him they will execute him financially. They've already told that poor bugger that's behind the mic that's sitting there trying to look, like he's so smart. In reality, he might even be smart, but he's never going to be allowed to use his brain. And if he wants to try to play sly, he'll be going against common sense, but he might try to be, I'll be cool. I'll be really sneaky. I'll be real sneaky and smart on this. I'm going to throw a looper at him, you see? And then as soon as he messes up, because Ron Paul or whoever they're interviewing, responds and actually beats him down, then on top of everything else, he's got 15 screaming baboons, all of them yapping one way or another in his ear about how he screwed up and how he's going to lose his job. And right now, the old sphincter factor is so dramatic that he's sucking the vinyl 6 inches up his butt off the chair he's sitting on. And if it's leather, God help, God knows who else was sitting on it, what kind of contamination is there. Okay? Just think of all the things going on with this, because there are times when, as I pointed out, if you ever watch these live programs, especially in the morning because they want to do the live broadcast, where a person literally will pull the microphone, will pull the earpiece out and be throwing that down and even grab the microphone and they'll be, I can't do this. Well, of course, then it'll be immediately they go to break. It's not a scheduled break. Go to break, go to break, go to break. The National, of course, will kick that out through the editors right there. And then when all of a sudden there'll be a minute break, minute and a half, because they can't go too long because they're out of sync. And then all of a sudden they come back and the guy's standing straight, back's upright. He's actually sitting back but up. The girl who was there when they were yapping back and forth and they were arguing, all of a sudden they're both sitting straight. They both have their hands in their lap and they're both looking straight ahead. And they are both talking like this because obviously they have been told that if you want to keep your nice cushy job, You had best shut up or you will be fired. I mean, you haven't seen that? I've watched it on the Communist News Network several times, but also on the networks like in New York, where, usually in the background, like people put up Ron Paul for president signs. They got the windows, and the people are supposed to crowd up and go, yay, look, it's happy birthday for Fred. But instead it's Ron Paul for president. So the camera slides. If you pay attention to what they do there, when all those people that are up there with, statements, the camera starts to slide to the left so that you can block out the frame of the window, the sign they don't want anybody to see. Yeah, you've seen that. Or what they do if they realize that everybody out there is carrying a Ron Paul for president sign, they keep all the shots cropped, and they don't allow you to see the windows, which means they got to do all these close-ups, which make it look like they're in a cardboard box, which is the reverse of the big, roomy, open air, we're all at the kitchen table together routine. But when everybody's at the kitchen table and they're all saying, Ron Paul for president, Ron Paul for president, Ron Paul for president. We don't want you at our kitchen table, but there's more of us in our view. Ron Paul for president. No, we can't show anybody this. You see? So there's all kinds of ways, but when you pay attention to what they do, well, it's like, let me give you, we're almost to the break here. Remember when that booby female is standing there 32 minutes before building number 7 falls, broadcasting on the BBC Live. The guy from the BBC is talking to her, and they already announced, and she's reading from the script, and they can see building 7 behind her live. But she's reading from the scheduled script. And so 30 minutes before, and she's in New York. She has New York live behind her, the smoke coming out of the other ruins. And Building 7 is standing proud and rock solid. And even as she's talking, they're trying to slide the camera sideways so they can take Building 7 and take it out of the picture by changing the camera angle. But she's a good, young, attentive individual who was hired probably out of whatever communication school, and she's told, always center on the camera, always center on the camera. So she adjusts, knowing that she was supposed to keep the background where it was supposed to be, thinking that, hell, maybe I'm not paying attention, and she adjusts and keeps putting Building 7 behind her where it shouldn't be. Because she's already told them several times about the collapse of Building 7, Building 7's collapsed, Building 7's collapsed, and the meat puppet didn't get the word that she was ahead on the script, which had already been written for an event with a physical structure that had not fallen. Wow. So there's an example of, again, where, move the camera, and the announcer finally just said, we got to cut away from you. And why? Because Building 7 was about to go. And the last thing they could have is, wait a minute, did you just say Building 7 fell? Wasn't you just talking about Building 7 falling? Building 7's in the background, and if they kept the camera on her, because the announcer was finally told, and you can tell, pay attention to what he says. Listen to how he says it. Look at her response when he talks about cutting away from her. And you can see that all the play actors realize they are screwed. How did she pull sheet number 3, bring it to the front? Was she reading forward and forgot to shuffle the papers back through the script? What did she do? Let's ask another question, because this would be kind of fun. That is probably one of the most significant errors in broadcasting in recent years, where the enemy got caught flat, and it was live and nobody could do anything about it. Is she still broadcasting for the BBC? Is she allowed to broadcast for anybody? Is she talking with a microphone in front of anyone at all, or is she out in BFE, out middle of nowhere, in some single station radio station, WLSD, doing the weather, because that's the only job she could find where she's still doing the job she was doing, kind of. See, this is always fun, because errors like that, they can either chop the head off the management, but management always urinates downhill when they're socialists. Remember that. Socialists love taking charge and manipulating your lives and claiming power and control until things go wrong, and then they blame everybody else and execute everybody they can to make sure that nobody knows just how guilty they are. It still doesn't do them any good, because eventually we run them down with a pitchfork, skewer them in the middle of a ditch somewhere, or run while they're trying to run away, or hang them somewhere. But in the process, they still do the same thing over and over and over again. Anyway, I hear the music. Hold on here. Grab that first cup of coffee. Oh, yeah. Whoa, there you go. Now you get out of work if you have to. Meanwhile, we'll be back in about 4 minutes. Pay attention to our sponsors here on the Micro Effect in the morning.